Let us deal with the introduction to this particular two-dimensional arrays. We have seen what exactly one-dimensional arrays are in the previous video. And now let's introduce the two-dimensional arrays and let's understand the need for this particular two-dimensional arrays. Why do we need two-dimensional arrays? Suppose if I take up an example of counting or finding the largest of 60 marks, then probably I'll stick to a one-dimensional array. So what I'll do is, in that case, I'll declare a one-dimensional array as int m of say 60, where I'm going to store 60 marks, and then I'm going to apply some logical instructions which we have studied in the previous videos to get the largest among this particular 60 students. What if this concept need to be extended to say 2 classes now? Assume that I have 2 classes, each of 60 strength. So in that case, what I can do is, I can go for declaring int m1 of 60 to store the marks of first set of 60 student classes, and m2 of 60 to store the second set of 60 students of second class. Now again, I can use some logical instructions for m1, some logical instructions for m2, find the largest among m1, find the largest among m2, and display this particular stuff. Now if I say that it has to be further extended, say for 5 different classes, in that case what I can do is, I had to declare 5 one-dimensional arrays. Declaring a 5 one-dimensional array is a tedious job, and moreover, reading all those contents, processing all those contents is actually a difficult job. So you can't manage with the 5 different arrays in a single go. So in that case, what I can do is, I can make one variable to store all these data. So now, instead of having 5 data, 5 one-dimensional arrays, I can go for one two-dimensional array. Let's see how that two-dimensional array goes as. So what I'll do is, I'll say this way. So here, int, I'll say m. How many classes I said? I said that I'm supposed to do it for 5 classes. I'll say m of 5. And then in each class, I have 60 students, hence I'll say bracket 60. So when an identifier is associated with the 2 sizes, we call this as a two-dimensional array. So I can visualize this as a set of 5 rows, and then in each row I have 60 columns extended for all these 5 rows, where the first row is again indicated as 0 and the first column is again indicated as 0. So when the row is 0, it means that this is the marks for the first student, first class. Now m of 0, 1, so the second location indicates the marks of first class, second student. So it means that if it is 60, then the last column will have an identification number as 59. So m of 0, 59 indicates the marks of the 60th student of the first class. Similarly, I can take the details of the second class as 10, 11 and so on till 159. 20, 21 for the third class. The fourth class will have a 30, 31, 32. For the fourth class, I can have 40, 41, 459. So basically, when I say that I'm supposed to extend the contents of a one-dimensional array, rather than declaring a multiple one-dimensional array, I can go for declaring one two-dimensional array. So a two-dimensional array is nothing but a replacement for multiple one-dimensional array. Now question comes, how do I go about the reading process? How do I go about the entire process of displaying the values? How do I go about the process of processing the values? Is there anything called as initialization? We'll see all this in detail. Now, before we see that, let's understand the concept of, is there a 3-dimensional, 4-dimensional array? Yes, you can extend this for multiple dimensions also. Now here, I have taken only 5 classes and in each class I have taken 60 students. What if this need to be extended for say 3 schools? I have 3 schools. In every school, I'm supposed to take the data of 5 different classes, and in every class, I have 60 students. In that case, I can assume a declaration as int m of 3, then 5, and then 60. Where int m of 3 indicates the 3 schools, then 5 indicates the classes in each school, and then 60 indicates the marks scored by the 60 students or the student number. So again, as usual, 0 indicates the first school number, 1 indicates the second school number, 2 indicates the third school number. In each school, I'll have the 1, 2, 3, 4, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4 as the class name, and then 0 to 59, I'll have the student name. Suppose if I write a number as int m of 0, 1, 2, what this indicates? 0 indicates the first school. 1 indicates the second class. And 2 indicates the third student. So here the data, if I say just int m of, or just m of 0, 1, 2, so it indicates that 0, this data indicates the data of the first school, second class, third student detail. I can do initialization, I can do this particular part. Now I can expand this particular limitation. I can say that I'm going to have, say, data of 3 different cities now. What if this need to be extended for 5 different cities or 10 cities? If I ask you to do a declaration for 10 cities, 3 schools, 5 classes and 60 students, in that case I can expand this content for multiple dimensional array, that is 4 dimensional array. But as such, our discussion will be limited to only 2 dimensional array. Now, what we are going to use in this particular 2 dimensional array? We are going to use 2 dimensional array with the concepts of nested loops. The entire processing operation, reading operation, initialization, all those things will be done using nested loops. So before we start with that, let's have a quick recap of this 2 dimensional array with nested loops. How nested loops work, so that we can have a continuity for the next video. So how nested loops works? Now in this, we are going to use a for within a for. Let me take a for loop with, say, I equals to 0, I less than equals to 2, I plus plus. And within this, I'll say j equals to 0, j less than equals to 3, and j plus plus. Now, what are the operations which I'm going to do in this? The variable I and j are going to be operated. In this, I indicates rows and j indicates columns. Suppose if I have a declaration as int a of 3, 3, which means that there are 3 rows and 3 columns. So 3 rows 0 to 2 and 3 columns are 0 to, say, 2. Again 2 at this place. Now in this, if I say a of I j equals to 0. Now see how exactly this content operates. When I is 0, the loop starts in this fashion. So the loop starts with I equals to 0. Then the control goes to I less than equals to 2, 0 less than equal to 2, true, then initialize j as 0. And then go to j less than equals to 2. Substitute the value of I and j. Initially I is 0, j is 0. So that indicates the first element, that is a of 0, 0. I'll put these 3 rows and 3 columns. So the first element is 0, 0. So a of 0, 0 is set with 0. Now, when you go back, this will go back to j plus plus. So what remains constant? What changes? So in this case, I is kept as 0 and j changed to 1. So I is 0, j is 1, 1 less than equal to 2, true. Substitute the value of I and j. So I is 0, j is 1. So a of 0, 1 is set with 0. So I'm taking the second element. When you go back, j plus plus, j becomes 2. 2 less than equal to 2, true. A of 0, 2 is set with 2. Now when you go back, j becomes 3. 3 less than equal to 2, false. When this is false, this is going to go back and change to I plus plus. When I say I'm going to go for I plus plus, I will become now 1. 1 less than equal to 2, true. True. The entire process again repeats. So it means that now you are on the second row where I is set as 1 and j changes from 0 to 2. So I keeps on changing fixed value of I and j keeps on changing regularly. So in the next turn, I becomes a 2 and j again changes from 0 to 2. So it means that all these values are set with initial value called as 0. So such a nested loops we are going to use in every program of this particular arrays. So make sure that before you turn up to the next video, make sure that you go through the entire concepts of nested loops properly. So basically, your 2-dimensional array is nothing but a collection of one-dimensional array, right? So we'll proceed with the entire operations, the reading process in the next video. Thank you.